Hello, and today we'll be playing the newest update of Hearthfire. I could feel something touching my ear. It was warm, tracing along the edges slowly. It felt way too early to wake up. It was like my eyes were glued shut. Yet the feeling didn't abate. My hair parted as something strode through it. The bed I was sleeping on was comfy though, firm but with enough give, like a memory foam mattress. With a worn-out yawn, I slowly opened my eyes. It was still dark, the only light filtering through the corners of the closed window curtains. As everything came into view, I could spot a pair of eyes watching me. Even in the dark, I could make out the familiar orange colors. Terrence's motion stopped, the bear freezing his index finger and thumb halfway gripped around my ear. His ears folded back, the bear looking unsure. "You're awake." Another yawn whipped out of me, forcing my jaw to open wide. "I am now." I gave him another look before tilting my head into his outstretched hand. "How long have you been petting me?" He grew flustered, shifting awkwardly under me. "I do not know." He looked to the nearby window. It was before light. I noticed a lack of movement, those fingers having frozen against my head as if he was scared to continue. "You don't have to stop," I said with a soft chuckle, leaning down to nuzzle his bulging chest. It's really nice, actually." A small smile pulled the corners of his mouth. The bear's fingers returned to work, sliding through my hair and gently brushing it back. The score. "It's not bad, right?" Tarek shook his head, the movement gently jostling me. "No." My lower lip quirked. "Didn't you say something about not valuing outward beauty?" "I did, but I do now know. But I do now. But I do know how much this concerns you." His dense distance bruised my hair, the tips of his claws gently combing through it as he got a better look. I could feel the ball of it. I could feel the back of his nail rustling through my scalp, tracing a single line through it. "It is." He paused for a moment, his jawline shifting as he thought. "Handsome." "It is?" He nodded slowly, his large hands unfurling to affectionately sweep my hair back. The ant's character. He averted his gaze, the bear thumbing around my ear slowly. I do not like that your time here is memorialized as a mark. You deserve something better." "I don't know." I sprawled out, stretching my legs before wrapping my arms around Thomas densely further next. "I kind of figured it was karma." "It is." "I decided to drive out here without telling anyone. It was dumb, maybe outright stupid." "Chris, I mean, things could have been a lot worse. I'm sure you have a much harder time caring for a paraplegic." I said with a soft chuckle, my tail wrapping around the bear's big thigh. "I do not understand. Why do you wish harm upon yourself?" The question blindsided me, catching me off guard. "What do you mean?" "You think you deserve pain?" My expression screwed up as I tried to think of a reply. That came to mind as I sank back down to his chest, chin dropping between his dense pectorals. "Maybe I do." Tara didn't seem to have any of it, those dense brows furrowing. "Why?" Yeah, of course I didn't have an answer. I wouldn't answer for. I don't know. I've disappointed so many people. It feels like karmic balance." He shook his head, a large hand stroking down my back, pressing me tighter to his warm front. It was toasty, warding off the subtle chill in the air. I still do not understand. You do not deserve pain for existing. Maybe, I feel like a burden to just about everybody, though. Even you, I muttered, ears flattening back as I tucked my face into my savior's chest, trying to hide it. I have never called you this. He gently coaxed me to look up, slipping a finger under my chin to give it a little lift. Remember, even when I did not know you, I volunteered for your care. Yeah, you did. Funny to think how much he's opened up since then. Stone-faced, yet still offering to let me stay with him, even with the option to dump me in town. You have been kind. I had never found you to be a burden. His painted palm ruffled my hair, making me giggle. You have volunteered to help several times. A gentle poke at the end of my nose sent the point across, even when I told you it was not necessary. Are you calling me annoying? I asked with a giggle, wriggling my head left and right to shake off the lingering finger. Persistent. It is a good thing, I guess, I said with a soft chuckle, dropping my chin back onto his chest. If he were not persistent, I would not be here right now, experiencing these things. He did have a point. When we first met, he was incredibly reclusive. As far as I could gather, he would only go out to town when he absolutely had to, usually to trade his fists or gather supplies. I wanted to help where I could. I'm not big and strong like you or Daryl are. Your strength is in your heart. My face screwed up as I snorted. That's really corny. I did not understand. Why would I have corn? Tarmac. I groaned, finger digging too far as I pushed on his chest. The eating smirk plastered across his muzzle told me he knew what he was doing. You are empathetic. I try to be. It is rare. Many do not possess this trait. It seemed this bear wouldn't hear otherwise, dead set on proving my value. Was he wrong? Maybe I've been too hard on myself. Internalized self-hate for things beyond my control, for my messed up upbringing to my rocky relationship. There's always been a lingering feeling that things would have worked out better in my life if I had been a little stronger or brighter. Look at my sister. She got out and plowed through life with still willpower. Now she's out living her own successful life. I'm still stuck. New kind of snowbound stuck, but still. I could feel Thomas playing with my ears again. I must have been thinking for a while because he was intent on touching them. I tried not to let stray thoughts weigh me down as I pushed my face into his chest, content with relaxing into my bed-sized mattress. I could hear the bedroom door popping open down the hallway. Frantic footsteps could be heard as he rounded the corner. The heck? I asked, my voice groggy, first blade in all directions as I peeled my face from Thomas' chest. The bear was frowning, a concerned look painted over his face. I'm sorry, Chris. Kill you. On it. I responded, rolling off of tarmac and dropping my rump onto the floor as he got up and hit it to check out the disturbance. I glanced around. The darkened room also saw a distinct lack of links, caused me to tilt my head curiously. I could never pin that girl down. Being eccentric seemed to be a way of life for her. I cringed, hunkering down as I heard the stray sound of a retching wolf. Oh, that doesn't sound good. Getting to my feet, I adjusted myself, straightening my shirt so it wasn't haphazardly lying over me. A flushed-looking wolf was on his knees in the middle of the room. His ears were pinned back, his expression gaunt. Next to him was Conrad, the bear on a knee, with a large hand on his back. It rolled in small, soothing circles as the wolf clutched to the edge of the porcelain bowl. I do not understand. The canines saw him in an unsteady glare. Oh, like you. His cheeks swelled dangerously for a moment. I had to quickly look away. Thankfully, he didn't pound the wolf, gulping as he took a much needed breath. Do not blame my cooking. Well, it was something you put in there. The wolf snapped, hugging his toilet tight like it was a lifeline. Thomas' expression screwed up, his hand lifting from the wolf's back. No one else is sick. Well, aren't they lucky? Sarcasm was slathered over his words like a syrup-soaked pancake. Thomas snorted dismissively. Perhaps it is the drink you consumed last night. Yuka growled, growing flustered as his ears pinned back. His tail was looped tightly around his side. The wolf hugged himself with the appendage. I have not forgotten. I cannot stomach coffee. You cannot handle alcohol. I grew it. I can handle my beer just fine. Both Tarek and I were cold as the wolf retched. Ugh. A soft knock on the other side revealed a concerned-looking cat, dressed in just a pair of hastily slapped-on pants. Philip peered around the corner, his fluffy tail sticking out into view. Any more? Yes, his words being stifled by a barely contained yawn. If I had to hazard a guess, he was utterly unaware of Yuka's mad dash to the bathroom at first. His crimson gaze sharpened as he saw his wolf on the floor, clicking to glistening porcelain. Do not worry. I will take care of him. The doctor and I exchanged mutual looks of concern. Why do you have a plunger? The wolf asked, his words subtly slurred, brows furrowed as he watched the approaching bear. Wait, why do you have a plunger? Yuka's words were cut off as Philip gracefully pulled the door shut. The cat exhaled, his fluffy tail flicking a few inches behind him. What happened after I fell asleep last night? I asked hesitantly, smoothing some of my hair back awkwardly. Tarek said something about alcohol. The cat shook his head back and forth tiredly before waving for me to follow him. Philip's padded feet slapped lightly over the towel, the doctor digging through the upper cabinets. I could smell it before I saw it, the tantalizing scent of coffee grinds. I kind of surprised there was just a regular coffee machine in Yuka's apartment. I mean, it's not a coffee pot machine, but Philip chuckled softly, filling a few scoops of grounds into the filter before dropping it into the machine. I'm afraid this one is for my use. Sadly, I'm not as savvy a barista as my boyfriend. That makes the two of us. I said with a giggle of my own. If I want anything better than a simple cup of coffee, I gotta pay someone else to make it. The cat smirked as he turned on the faucet, slowly filling the sloshing pot. Same. The lid clicked shut, water glistening golden hues in the morning light that filtered from the window. We tilted over the awaiting lid of the machine, water cascading down over the grounds and filtering until it was filled. Philip flipped a switch on the side, a satisfying red glow coming from it, as the machine began to gurgle and sizzle. The churning sound was sentimental, making me feel a little at ease, even this far away from home. Some things are the same no matter where you go, even a pot of coffee. That's how we met. I blinked, lifting my gaze from the coffee machine to the cat. His tone was nostalgic, and the faraway look he gave the reflective glass pot only added to it. Oh? The bear tilted softly, his bushy tail swinging slowly behind him. I told you about my love for coffee, yes? For a conversation at his clinic came to mind the reliance on excessive amounts of caffeine and even more stimulating substances. Yeah, I remember. Perhaps love isn't the correct word. The cat buttered, his white whiskers swirling. I used to work at a large hospital. The doctor turned, resting the side of his hip against the countertop as the machine continued to gurgle softly. It was fulfilling work, but I felt I told it obscurity. Even then, by no means was it stress-free. Quite the opposite, really. The cat's brow furrowed, his entire demeanor seeming to sag under the weight of memory. Were you overworked? I know it's a problem in America with hospital staff. Yes, he answered truthfully, the doctor nodding slowly. Unlike my colleagues in other institutions, my pay was generous. But as they say, money isn't everything. The pot sizzled softly, the beginnings of the coveted golden brown liquid beginning to pour from the spout. Yeah, you don't need to tell me twice. Half the reason I'm even here could be blamed on it. More money than they could possibly spend, yet my parents were miserable. Worse, they made my sister and me miserable with it as well, holding it over our heads, weaponizing it, being generous with one hand and then spitefully stingy with the other. It was the entire reason I was going to a prestigious college while still driving an old clunker. I had a favorite corner cafe. It was a haven, really. I usually stopped by for coffee in the morning and after work, sometimes on my lunch break, if the day was particularly insufferable. The cat said with a rueful chuckle, "That's a lot of coffee." Part of me knew it was a height of hypocrisy for me to call it out despite the truth. Outside my lowest point in college, it was another what in my life. So how did you meet Yuka? Was he working there? The doctor looked up. Apparently, my educated guess was correct. It was indeed. A handsome wolf often toiled away in the morning when I walked in, overworked just like myself, but refused to let the quality of his coffee slip. The cat tilted softly, his bushy tail swaying as it brushed the edge of the countertop. That sounded like something out of a story. The cat laughed, genuinely amused by my comment. Perhaps it suddenly felt magical enough at the time. I looked forward to our chats more than my work. It became a little distracting, if I'm honest. I couldn't resist giggling as well. Yeah, he doesn't really seem like the romantic type, perhaps not in a conventional way. He has his charms, however. Yeah, he's kind of pricky, but I think there's a good guy under there. Despite hurling insults at me, he's been paradoxically nice. He said you made the espresso yourself. With a little bit of guidance, I said with an awkward laugh as I rubbed the back of my head. I don't think I've ever seen him allow anyone else to use his equipment. I wasn't exactly surprised, but to hear that Philip wasn't allowed near it either. The cat must have picked up my expression, his head tilting as he regarded me with amusement. To be fair, it's his livelihood. More than that, it's his art. It's art? Does he do the latte drawings or something? Not quite, though he has attempted in the past. It was quite really the first time I saw him in the sight. He was experimenting with it. I got a flower, a lotus, I believe. Did it look like one? The cat's whiskers swiveled as his nose shifted left and right. Let's just say that I appreciated the effort. You learn to look past aesthetics at a certain age. Part of me wanted to comment about Yuka, but I figured it would be in bad taste. After all, now that I've gotten to know him better, he wasn't that bad. Just pricky. I could see the appeal once he got past the attitude. But I can confidently say that it was still delicious. His ears perked as the coffee machine started to pour. The sound interrupted our conversation. Speaking of, he snatched a mug from a high cabinet, going out of his way to fetch one for me as well. Thanks. Not a problem, Chris. I'm afraid that if left to my own devices, I may just drink the entire pot. That's not healthy, but I'm not going to argue with a medical professional. Queen, huh? For your coffee. The cat answered with a gentle chuckle. unless you prefer it black. Yeah, Ashley. He stopped me at a surprised look, a brow angling up. I suppose the bitter taste has its appeal. Personally, I can't down it without at least a little cream. I don't usually, but sometimes I get the urge to drink it raw. He seemed amused with how I put it, the cat pouring some cream into his coffee before giving it a little stir. The first sip of coffee was what I needed. Once the caffeine jump started my brain while staving off slowly budding withdrawal. Just as I was about to take another drink, the bathroom door popped open. Ugh. I could hear the wolf before I saw him. Yuka came trudging around the corner, his face sagging. Behind him was Tarek, the bear leaving a supportive hand over his back. He has finished purging. Yuka groaned loudly, bracing himself against the countertop. Do we have to put it that way? I'm barely holding it as it is. Philip sighed gently, filling his cup before sliding closer to his boyfriend. Yuka stared at the gingerly steaming mug in front of him. His expression screwed up, a mild amount of disgust pulling his lip. A few sips might help. The wolf mumbled something unintelligible, but took the mug nonetheless. I wouldn't usually recommend a diuretic during a hangover, but he smiled softly. We can get you plenty of water after. Yeah. He lifted his gaze, tilting it between Philip and me. What were you talking about, anyway? Philip beamed, his bushy tail swinging. I was just telling Chris about how we met. Nearby Tomak's ears perked curiously, the bear started expressing cracking. Not sure why he deserves to know. He's a guest, and he did help with warming me back up. The doctor said with a polite but pointed edge. Yuka grumbled, but quickly acquiesced. Yeah, I was working at a dumpy little corner cafe. The place was desperate, so they hired anyone they could. I was lucky. Their prices were rather exorbitant. Yeah, but at least they didn't hoard it all. It was barely enough to get by with rent and my classes. The cat chuckled softly. It will explain why you were so ravenous whenever I took you to dinner. You could cough sharply, fingers pushing through his hair. I was on a diet of ramen and mac and cheese. Were times tough? Yeah, the wolf snapped half-heartedly. I mean, my parents were supporting me and stuff, but he huffed. He explained. Living in Montreal isn't cheap. No kidding. Is that why you ended up moving back? You could bristle, Philip quickly answering before the wolf could speak. Not exactly. We weren't entirely on the level of moving in together, and, well, you remember me mentioning the monotony of my work. Is that where the national order came in? Precisely. If he was going to move back, then I might as well tag along, yes? I see. All eyes turned to Tarek. He shifted, uncomfortable with a sudden attention. I did not know this was when Yuka had also returned. I did not put much stock into the doctor's arrival, only that he wished to stick me with needles. You still need your shots? The doctor hummed softly, his fluffy tail swishing. And really, it's not that bad. Even this far out, you still need to keep up with vaccinations. Arguably, it's more important than you do. Arguably, it's more important that you do. You're not exposed to usual pathogens due to your isolation. Tarek grumbled softly, but otherwise didn't respond. With a lull in the conversation, Yuka turned, glancing between us, mentally counting heads. Where's Hallie? Nobody seemed to have a ready answer to where the lynx had gone off to. First still on end, ears tooting up as the answer dawned on him. Oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me. He turned, lurching halfway through as he grabbed the countertop. Ugh. Easy. Philip put a steadying hand on his wolf's back. You're still hungover. The wolf whined, the sound coming out as a petulant whistle. She's gonna eat all my shit. Torrance sighed as he rolled his eyes. I will deal with her. Chris, my ears perked, jumping to attention at the sound of my name. Yes? Are you ready to leave? Sure, I can grab my stuff. Scampering back into the living room, I snatched my bag before tossing it over my shoulder. I thought about sending another message to Daryl, but it wasn't anything that could wait. I got out a message, which was good enough for me. Besides, while I still had mixed feelings over contact with him again, I knew I could rely on the lion. The doctor gave me a little wave, and sympathetic expression on his face as he patted Yuka's back, the wolf looking ready to barf all over again. Tonk's arms bulged as they swung, his white fur a blur through the air. The gleaming axe head dove through the log, splitting it in half as clean as a knife through butter. Jeez, I said with an impressed laugh, wiping at my forehead. Why did I even bother to help? You're a machine. Tarrant perked up from my blatant eagle stroking. Experience helps. You will be just as good with practice. Doubt it. I don't have nearly the size of a packing big guy. The comment hit home, the bear grinning as I watched his ego inflate in real time. Perhaps, with the right portions and work, he can become large. He gave his free arm a teasing flex. It was quite a sight, considering he was shirtless. His biceps swelled, tensing under the soft layer of fatty bulk that wrapped his body. I didn't look away this time. The ribs covered his wobble under my intense gaze. He scratched at his cheek, letting off on a pose. You do enjoy my body. Well, I did kiss you. I'm sure that's gotta count for something. Tarrant visited, the axe sliding through his fingers until it pressed against the stump. I see. He cleared his throat. Shall we take the wood inside? The fire's getting low. We should tend to it. I didn't mistake the tent in his pants as he awkwardly carried his payload. He was squatted over near the fireplace as I walked in, the bear busily trying to organize a pile of logs. I didn't miss the fact his rear was jutting out. His tough tail was sitting on top of the mounds like a cherry on a milkshake. I was never more tempted in my life to go over and give an ass a swat. Huh? A wave of self-consciousness washed over me, cheeks heating up. I guess it's been a little while since our time in the saddle. I tried not to pay attention to the sight, turning away as I adjusted my pants. Honestly, I was starting to wonder what happened to Hallie. She wasn't around when we went to find her the other day. Tarrant was content with just having us leave. I couldn't blame him. The sound of a clearing throat caught my attention before I could wander too far. He seemed hesitant, his voice catching in his throat as he stood back up. I wish to experience more. That caught me by surprise by a brow lifting. More? I let the word hang, pushing for him to elaborate. Between us. The bear pointed, gesturing awkwardly as the renewed fire crackled behind him. I could feel the heat rising underneath my collar as I pieced together what he was insinuating. I did not mean now, of course. He stammered, tripping over his words as he grew visibly flustered. Just that I wished to try. As awkward as the topic was, I had to wonder. Have you done anything with another guy before? Like, his ears perked. He visited deserts twiddling together. I have. Fornicated, yes. My expression screwed up. You can say sex. Tarek, it's okay. I have not. He let on He looked on the verge of overheating. His cheeks toasted along with the insides of his ears. I have done mouth things. He cleared his throat, both given and taken. I have never seen someone so large be so adorable. The confidence that was once radiating off of him had evaporated entirely. Left behind was the curious yet intimidated polar bear. He watched in surprise as I approached him, my hands tracing over his exposed chest. A shiver went up his spine, a sensation I could feel as my hands pressed in harder. Well, I guess I'm more experienced for once. I said with a little laugh. It would seem so. I could feel the tension slacking as he leaned forward into my hands. Did you do these things with your ex-boyfriend? Well, he was my only boyfriend until now. The bear's eyes widened as he stared down at me. I've never compared before, but I don't think I'll start now. Whatever happens between us is, well, between us, you know? He nodded slowly, his hands unfurling to gently grip my hips. I could feel the subtle lip in the front of his jeans as he pulled my stomach against him. I see. There will be no judgments. Yeah. I just hope I can leave a good impression. I giggled softly, nuzzling my face back and forth against his chest. It was interesting how the white fur was softer than his darker mane. He stroked around my ears gently, his massive hand threatening to engulf my head. Despite the tender touch, I could still feel the pressure downstairs. Just let me know if you want to try something, okay? There's no pressure. He nodded slowly, thoughtfully. His hand caressed me slowly, pressing me a little tighter against him. Yes, I will finish tending to the fire, perhaps after. His voice was small, eager, and hopeful as he peeked past his pecs to look at me. Sure, I'll get ready. Get ready? He tilted his head in confusion. What? Do you think we could just walk into it? I said with a small laugh. We gotta get prepared first. I'm just glad I brought some of my stuff along with me. I rubbed the back of my head, let out an awkward noise. Well, even by accident. I see. You may have to instruct me. I am unsure. I did not have to prepare for Yuka. Only sour and clean. It's similar, just a little more thorough, especially for whoever is going to bottom. Yes. His words had a strange tone, something beyond the usual awkwardness. It sounded like he wanted to say something more, but he shook his head. I will meet you in the bedroom. I gave him a nod and another tight squeeze, my arms wrapping around his round middle as far as I could reach. Grabbing my luggage, I quickly dashed to the bathroom, watching around the corner as Tarek gave me one last bashful smile. It traveled through me, my cheeks clenching together. It had been a while since I cleaned out like that. As much as I tried, I don't even think I'd ever get used to the feeling. That being said, I wasn't even sure if Tarek had condoms. I knew for sure that mine wouldn't fit that monster log. Honestly, I wondered if it would fit inside me anyway. That was big, but wasn't packing the sea of girth swinging between Tarek's thighs. I could hear thudding from outside the room, heavy footsteps approaching. That took a while. Yes. He looked nervous, the door clicking sat behind him as he awkwardly stood at the room's far end. Tarek had not gone to bite. I said with a soft, reassuring tone as I waved him closer. Besides, I'm not sure I'd get through that thick hide anyway. My little joke seemed to get through, the big bear pulling a small smile. He shuffled forward, moving to the end of the bed. His weight caused it to sag as I shuffled out of the way. So, he turned, canted his head in my direction. I've noticed that you are still dressed. He looked down at himself, suddenly unaware. Ah, yes, I gently squeezed his thigh, my hand sliding over it reassuringly. He was nervous. I didn't want to push anything if he wasn't ready. But we don't. As the bear regarded me, he seemed shocked, even slightly confused. No, of course not. My hand slid gently along the outside of his powerful thigh, palm resting over the fabric of his jeans. He nodded slowly, fingers lacing together in his lap. I have had problems with this before. You have? It has happened once or twice when I was with Yuka. He tried to reassure me, but I could tell he was disappointed. I flashed him a sympathetic but reassuring smile. Hey, well, sex isn't that important to me. Honestly, it's kind of nice to not have that expectation for once. It stopped me a confused look, head tilting as if asking me to explain. Well, there were a lot of expectations in my previous relationship. We weren't a public couple, and Daryl had a voracious libido. He let out a low hum, nodding slowly. Yuka was the same way. He enjoyed intimacy far more than I did. Hopefully snuggling isn't off the table. He shook his head, flashing me a smile. No, I do not think I can get tired of this. His hand slipped around my side, gently rolling me up against him. I gave his chest a gentle nuzzle, sliding my nose along the jutting underside of a large peg. We stayed like this for a while, allowing the silence to overtake us like a blanket. Eventually he gently jostled me, his hand squeezing my shoulder. Why don't we take a bath together? It's been a while. I mumbled softly, having half nodded off as I yawned. Sure, that sounds good. I blinked as I felt his hand slip under my thighs. He lifted me up into the air, his arms bulging as he cradled me against his chest. I'm sorry if you had expectations. He paused for a moment before peering down at me. We can try again if this is something you want. Maybe I just want to make sure you're comfortable. I could see his cheeks tinge slightly, his gaze averting as his ear flipped. You're kind. It's just being considerate. I said with a chuckle, pulling myself with a grip around his neck before gently kissing him. He let out a low rumble as he leaned down, pressing his lips to mine. I could feel him cupping behind my head, his thick fingers wrapping around it as he held me. It wasn't the deepest kiss I'd gotten, but it was enough to make my head spin. He nuzzled along my jawline as he hefted me up, carrying me out of the bedroom. The water bubbled around us as I let out a low sigh. Tarek had stoked the fire to perfection, the heat at just the right temperature to make me melt. Phew. Lauren's hands massaged my chest, working up and down my stomach before tracing my inner thighs. Tired. A little bit, but it's mostly the warmth. Steam wafted around us, hazing the air and obscuring the greater forest beyond. It felt nice with him hugging me up against his chest. The water slowed off of me as it sloshed back into the tub. He nuzzled at my neck, pressing another kiss to it. I could help but giggle as he sniffed under my jawline, taking in my scent. I enjoy moments like this together with you. I smiled as he hugged me possessively to his chest. Now, I mean, I think everything worked out in the end. Although, I muttered, reaching up to feel the rough patch of skin marring my forehead. I probably could have gone without becoming intimate with my steering wheel, but then I would not have met you. I'm glad that I met you. I huffed softly as he squeezed me a little tighter, those strong arms causing my back to pop. Yeah, you've already told me enough times. Thanks for taking care of me. Tyler out a low rumble as he leaned back, sticking further into the water as he lazed. I lost track of time, honestly keeping track of it out here was hard. Everything was so still when the storm wasn't raging. Days would pass, blurring together in one long, uninterrupted moment between us. Sorry, get out. His low purr interrupted my stray thoughts as I lifted my head to look at him. We have been here for quite some time, perhaps. He paused and thought. Can we watch one of your movies? I did promise that, didn't I? The water sloshed as I stepped out of the tub, shaking the rust off my short fur. Being an otter, getting dry quickly was something we were built for. And a good thing too, I could feel the chill instantly rushing around to squeeze the heat from the tub out of me. Wrapping a towel around me and grabbing up my clothes, I quickly made a dash around the corner and back to the cabin. Phew. The fire crackled, still alive and flickering. I was thankful for the heat, the radiating warmth, helping me dry off as I spread my arms eagle. It's about time you came back. The scream that unbelted out of me could have woke the dead. The door burst open, Tyler nearly slipping on some ice in his rust. I heard screaming. Sitting on a chair in the kitchen, Hallie looked like she was about to double over from laughter. I scrambled to find some level of decency, my tail whipping between my legs that I nearly stumbled and tripped into the fire. What are you doing here? Torak asked, the bear finally finding his footing as he slapped the door shut behind him. Just here to collect on a favor is all. She chimed, far too cheerily for my taste. What for? What favor? I asked apprehensively, temporarily forgetting about my unclothed state. Remember that gasoline that you took? She asked, her figure tracing the edge of the dining room table coyly. The one that I gave at an extensive discount? Oh dear. She smiled wide, showing off the sharp fangs in her mouth. I'm here to collect. But don't worry, I'm not entirely ruthless. I came bearing a gift. Besides her was a basket, small, woven, somewhat out of place on the table. Tart's nose instantly started twitching, snuffing the air. It's a pie. Before he asked, I didn't bake it myself. The way she said it almost made it seem like a good thing. I hadn't sampled her cooking before, but now I was apprehensive. You didn't steal it, did you? She scowled playfully, putting a hand defensively over her chest. Now that's not a very good accusation to make. Don't worry, I pay him for his troubles. Consider it a present. Smiling, she turned her attention to the subtly salivating bear. Also, I'm going to be borrowing Chris for a bit. And there was a catch. I don't know why I was surprised. The midst of my name seemed to snap him out of his blueberry trance, Tarek blinking. Why? She got up from her chair, sauntering into the living room. I felt extremely on display, with nothing but a towel for modesty. Tarek, ever unflappable, seemed unfazed with being nude. Because I need his help to collect on your favor. Remember our little chat, Chris? I racked my mind, combing over memories of colorful encounters with the lynx. Gas siphoning? She nodded eagerly, hoop earrings swinging. You see, I have no idea where your wreck is. She waved a manicured finger, a coy smile behind it. But I do know where your cabin is. Tara groaned, nearby ears flattened. And besides, her arm looped around me, tugging me up awkwardly against her side. I want to have some girl time with Chris, but I'm not. She gave me a tight squeeze, forcing a strange squeak out. Despite the tantalizing allure of watching blueberry temptation, Tara's muzzle quizzed into a frown. I do not like this. Come on, it'll be quick, I promise. Besides, I'll take good care of your boyfriend for you. Tark's expression screwed up at the words, ears pinning back as his cheeks warmed. I couldn't blame him. I was in the same boat as I clung to my towel. Quiz. Yeah? Do you wish to do this? You do not have to do it. You do not have to if you do not want to. I'll find another way to repay her. Well, I appreciated him putting his neck out for me again. I did offer for her to pick over my car for parts. Besides, this was initially to save him the trouble in the first place. I had seen how she handles favors. The last thing I wanted was for Tara to end up in her clutches. No, it's okay. Besides, I promised I would help her. The lynx beamed, releasing me from her iron grip. I'm glad we could come to an arrangement. Now, shall we be going? Can I at least get dressed first? She pardoned my question, letting out a long, drawn-out hum. For a moment I thought she was actually about to say no. I suppose I can be convinced to wait. She cheekily giggled, her tough tail giving a little wiggle as she sauntered past us to the door. Don't take too long. Someone could tell, the big bear shaking his head as he massaged between his brows. Chris. What? I hope you know what you're doing. Truth be told, I wasn't sure either. It can't be that bad, right? It's just collecting some gas and whatever stuff she wants. He huffed under his breath. I do not like being separated from you. While I know he was making an earnest statement, my knees still wobbled. Oh, Ton. With only a few steps, he closed the distance between us. His arms wrapped tightly around me as he gave me a hug. A giggle worked its way out of me as he went so far as to kiss me on top of the forehead. Be safe. My arms looped around his neck, squeezing tight. I'll try to be. The white oval was different. Hanging on to Hallie was like clinging to a rock wall wrapped in a jacket. No plus sides or anything to soften the ride. Surprisingly, her snowmobile was a lot like Tara's, just painted in opposing white. I'm not sure it was a good idea considering how much it blended with the natural snowscape. The cat was busily circling around the wreck, peering up and down as he scrutinized it. It was a little painful to see it in this state. All right, Chris, I think I know how to get to your gas tank. You landed somewhere fairly level, so it shouldn't be too hard. You're welcome. She flashed me a smile as she leaned against my trunk. Can you get the jack from the back of the snowmobile for me? Finding it wasn't a difficult process, perched just under the back end of the seating. My eyes widened as I watched her spread her stance, hands going under the edges of my car. No way, is he going to lift it? Even with a body like hers, I could only imagine how much effort it would take. We can't exactly get the jack underneath the car when it's half sitting on a boulder like this. I'm going to lift it. You'll slide the jack under it when I give the signal, okay? Okay. I stood already, hunching down on my knees. It seemed she was right. The right side of my car was perched over a rock, the white stone jutting out of the snow and ice. The car stuttered, metal groaning and squeaking as the derelict frame was disturbed. It was doing it. With legs spread wide, her entire body seemed to wibble as she held the back end up. "Now, Chris," she said through grit teeth, her body slightly shaking. There was just enough room to slide the jack under, the top scraping metal as it wedged into place. The car groaned as it was dropped, the links loosening her grip. She wiped her brow, letting out a pleased exhale. "Well, that's the worst part. Good job, Chris." Good was just perking up from the plays. Biceps bulged as she pumped the jack. The base of it sat firmly against the stone, wedged in place by the weight. Before long, the car lifted up on one side, the suspension squeaking softly as tires lifted from the ground. Some snow shook off the wreck as Haley locked the jack into place. She sauntered over to her snowmobile, reaching underneath it. Out came a gas can on steroids. It was long, rectangular, kind of like a suitcase. I figured I'd bring out the big guns for this, she said with a playful giggle, dropping the container into the snow with a muted thud. There was no way I could lift it once it was full. Even being able to drag it through the snow was in question. Hallie had returned, a toolkit in hand. She fiddled with the contents, digits dancing through a dizzying array of tools. The way she wielded a power drill sent an apprehensive shiver up my spine. A smirk forming over her muzzle as she gave the bit a testing spin. She attached a clear hose to the top of the gas can, securing it into place before shimmying herself underneath the car. "Mind giving me a light?" she asked cheerfully, her bottom half sticking out from the undercarriage. Well, at the very least, I knew what a flashlight looked like. Snatching it out of her toolkit, I got on a knee, clicking it on before starting it inside. Ah, much better. You know, you're lucky that your gas tank is made of plastic. Why? Because if it was metal, just one spark could blow us all up, she said far too cheerily, her little tail wagging as she hiked her legs up. The unpleasant sound of drilling metal against plastic had my ears folding back. The sound ceased with a soft pop of a noise, the sound of the bit puncturing through plastic. Can you hand me the end of the hose? I did what I was asked, fumbling a little before wheeling the tube to the links. The cold wasn't exactly nice on my fingers, but I managed. Heralded with a soft clunk, I could see some color filling the transparent tube. Gasoline trickled in, pattering into the empty tank in a steady stream before too long. She shuffled herself out from under the car before dusting the snow from her shoulders. It should only be a few minutes. Sauntering over the front of my car, she peered at the hood hunch over an over as his inquisitive eyes roved over it. The hood dislodged with the lightest of tugs, surprising Haley as snow went flying. It stopped sort of slamming into the shattered windshield, causing the wreck to wobble. Huh? She leaned over, fingers dusting along the edges of the engine compartment. Everything is surprisingly intact, except the frame and the axle, but it's still pretty good salvage. Well, that was the final nail in the coffin for my sedan. Farewell, my sweet chariot, you served me well. Leaning my head against the side of the car, a thought floated up in my mind. So you're pretty talented. Have you been doing this for a while? Mm-hmm. She answered cheerily, still rifling through the engine. I could see a spark plug glimmering in the light between her fingers. I've had to dip my fingers into plenty of trades. So I'm a sales gal. Though I'm a sales front gal, I'm pretty mean under the hood. Logistics are also my thing. She smiled wistfully, rolling the wayward part in her palm. Didn't you say you owned a shop before? She peeked up from her nostalgia, giving me a long look. I swear I saw some unending optimism escape her orbit as he said slightly. I did say that, didn't I? A forlorn finger spun along locks like spaghetti. I could smell the subtle scent of gas wafting as the tank continued to drain. For a while I thought she wouldn't continue, the silence stretching on. It was a long time ago. Her usual cheeriness had all but vanished. Sorry if it brings up bad memories. I was just curious. You won one of the only salts I've seen in Iska. I scratched my cheek, now working into sore fur. It's okay, I don't. For the first time I'd seen she seemed unsure. I don't usually talk about these things. She tried to smile, but the corners of her mouth refused to reach her eyes. But it doesn't hurt to divulge now and then. I could hear a clatter as she put the spark plug back. The short of it is that I always wanted to run my own business. I always enjoyed playing shop when I was young. Most of my friends didn't understand the obsession, but one of them did. She said with a melancholic tinge. Well, I thought she did. What happened? I asked hesitantly, unsure where exactly my inquiry would go. Well, things were fantastic at first. Business was booming, and we were paying back the starting loans without much issue. Granted, most of our business was local. That's a good thing, right? At first, but we started to come up a little short for rent. It didn't make any sense. She idly kicked at some snow, the dusting glazing the nearby tar and white. Until I started to double-check our ledgers. I wasn't in charge of the books, and honestly, I wasn't the best at accounting. But I could still tell where numbers aren't adding up. I could feel my stomach sink, knowing where this was going. Turns out she had been slipping some of the money to her own pockets. The car groaned, creaking softly as she leaned into it. So she was stealing from the business? I didn't want to admit it, but yes. She giggled, half-heartedly, a haggard sound. I don't know if you've ever penned for someone before, Chris, but it lets you overlook the worst qualities in them. I could feel a twinge inside myself, the topic getting uncomfortably personal. It's kind of funny. She said with a mirthless smile. When you see someone through rose-tinted glasses, all the red flashes look like flags. Her words were weighty, and for a while it wasn't just a cold that took my breath away. The siphoning had stopped, the color having bled from the tube a while ago. Well, I learned my lesson. Watching her expressing herself was like someone flipping a light switch. Whether she was masking her feelings or not, it was still jarring. Well, after I pulled just about every muscle in my arm, the cognitive dissonance between her tone and topic was enough to give me a headache. Why did you go on that spree? I can't understand taking a break, but extreme rock climbing, that's a bit. Extreme? Her voice weighed teasingly on the button, causing my face to scrunch. Yeah. When I face a problem, I throw myself face first into it. It's just the kind of gal I am. Unfortunately, I couldn't exactly do that this time. She cloyingly giggled, causing me to visit nervously. Not if I wanted to avoid jail time anyway. That's a scary image. I can't exactly picture you being violent with anyone. She visibly perked up, expressing broadening as her tough ears lifted. My workouts are pretty good stress relief. She just pushed past my ability to compensate. And that's how you met my sister, huh? Mm-hmm. She moved over to the side of the car, shuffling her way underneath once again. I heard the metallic rattling as she dislodged a tube from the tank. Right, an errant thought clicked into place. The way she looked at the screen while I was talking to my sister, how eagerly she tugged the laptop from me. Are you? The words refused to come out of me, the forbidden possibility getting caught in my throat as she lost. She peered around the edge of the car frame, flashing me a perplexed look. Into my sister, her expression blanked. A mutual staring contest ensued, and neither could fathom a response. Chris? Yes? She had gotten up, rising like a leviathan from parting seas as she stared me down. I thought I had said the wrong thing for a moment, feeling myself swing under her growing saddle. Her hands clasped around my shoulders, and soon I couldn't escape. Why? I didn't peg you as so-and-so insightful. The tension snapped like a frayed rope. I probably would have fallen over faint without those strong hands holding me in place. Although, one of those hands wrapped around my muzzle, hugged shut, causing me to mumble and sputter. This stays between you and me, okay? Unable to speak, I jerkily nodded my head up and down. Good. I meant to use our little time together to ask some questions, but I guess being covert is out the window. Do you think? She caught clearing her throat. This was the most unsure I'd ever seen her. It could have been abusive if my face wasn't gripped like a stress ball. Actually, never mind, she said with a demure laugh. Her eyes widened, having forgotten she was holding my muscle hostage. Whoops. I gasped for breath, chill air filling my lungs. Well, you're out of luck if you want to ask if she would be into you. I don't recall her ever having a relationship with anyone. Really? Never? Her priority was always her classwork, then her job. I couldn't blame her. She wanted out as soon as she could. Well, I could certainly relate to being in love with your job. Yeah, I bet you could. She was the first person I came out to. I think the exact words were, I'm not surprised. That sounds like her. Clinical as ever. She's a profession, cool and detached. It's one of the things I can admire, coming from someone who can get a little too excited for their own good. Speaking of, she spread her thighs, crouching down to lift the filled container. Gasoline slosh, slapping the insides of each wall as it lapped against plastic. How about we head back? You're not going to salvage the rest of it? Not like it's going anywhere except for our favorite Grumpy. We're the only ones that know where it is. Besides, I only swung by for the gas today. She hooked the slosher container onto the back of her snowmobile before waving me over. I couldn't help but give my car one last forlorn look. Thanks for everything, I guess. The ride back went faster than I expected. Hallie was a speed demon compared to Tomac. Even when he opened up, it still wasn't as fast as he took those straightaways. The floors creaked as I walked, still a little unsteady on my feet. Well, that takes care of that. The cat appeared from the back, dusting her hands off with a straight clap. It's been a pleasure doing business with you. It wasn't for me, but I'm glad I could keep Tomek out of her sights at least for a while. Yeah, at least it'll be used for something. It'll certainly help. From generators to snowmobiles, gas is a pretty hot commodity right now with how snowed in we are. She reached out, fingers ruffling through my hair. I couldn't help but giggle despite the violation of my personal space. So it's hard not to. It's just so cute, I snorted loudly. I wouldn't try that one on Lily. She self-consciously coughed, the insides of her ears subtly warming. Don't worry, I got a game plan worked out. A train horn caught us by surprise. The wayward sound muffled by the walls. As faint as it was still telltale. It didn't take much for my brain to piece the greater meaning together. If the storm was slacking off enough that trains could start to run again, then that meant I might not be stuck here much longer. Well, I haven't heard that in a while. Hallie had made her way to the back, peeking through her blinds. Far in the distance, wrapped around the outcropping of Tuxedo, were a series of snaking, muted red and brown boxcars. Should they be sending trains through like this? Well, the weather hasn't been as bad recently, our little slumber party notwithstanding. It wouldn't surprise me if capitalism reigns supreme. So, cut safety regulations and pay people less? Something like that. I'm really glad I don't work for you. Oh, come on. I know I wouldn't be a bad boss. She threw me an empress wink that made my tail curl. Okay, I think I'm going to leave now. Ah, well, at least let me drive you back. I'm good. Besides, I could use a breather anyway. Hallie was outright overwhelming. I could see why she was a natural Tomek repellent. Okay. Tell Tomek I hope he enjoys his pie. If he hasn't already devoured it. There was a real chance he did, considering his voracious appetite for blueberries. A deep drag of coffee was exactly what I needed. Pleasant bitterness lingered on my lips, hence a sugar sweet, tantalizing my tongue. I was surprised that Yuka was willing to take my money this time. I didn't have much of it, but I was starting to feel bad about how much free coffee he would give me. Still, it did take some convincing for him to relent. What a weird guy. He acts quirky, but he keeps doing me favors. Maybe Tom did see something in him. I took another drink as I followed the path back to Tomek's cabin. It was a way on foot, but it wasn't so bad with warm coffee turbocharged in my system. It seemed that I couldn't get a hold of Daryl, though. He must have been busy because he didn't answer my call. I had to talk to Tomek about it, but I figured it wouldn't be long until I could leave, given that trains had started up again. Maybe I could hitch a ride or something, grab onto the edge of a boxcar and hold on for my life until I reached the States. I snickered softly, tipping the cup up to give myself another needed caffeine rush. The laughter died in my throat as I froze. The sound of a twig snapping causing my sore ears to shoot up. I wasn't sure why, but a primal sense of fear gripped me, a cold chill chasing off the warmth of my belly. I couldn't see movement, but I knew something was out there, An ominous wind started to blow, the surrounding evergreens causing shadows to dangerously dance as limbs swayed. My mouth dried, throat feeling like cotton as I, against my better judgment, called out, "Hello?" There was no answer other than the whistling wind. "Tarwak?" I had a brief hope that he had grown bored or maybe worried enough to come out and find me. As crazy as that sounds, another rustle, this time closer. Bushes shook as a pair of eyes peered out from concealing darkness. A bolt, coffee sloshing from uneven steps. Out of the shrubbery came a snarling feral wolf, low and emaciated, with a few patches of gray fur missing. It was still enough to make my blood freeze. It padded along the edges of the tree line, yellow eyes zeroed in on me as fangs bared. Every instinct yelled at me to run for my life, but I couldn't. My feet refused, rooted into place by an unseen force. The wolf had no such qualms. It stalked me despite being in the open, our eyes locked. I had to do something. I had to. Like a shot, I veered off the path that is carrying me without consent. The wolf's ears flipped up, head going along with it as it growled. I didn't turn to see if it was following, tripping over some rocks and twisted as I slid down the hill. A once caught my leg, tearing into my jeans and scratching painfully through my fur. I could hear the crackling and skittering of paws behind me as I hit the bottom of the hill. At some point I lose my footing. The coffee I had a death grip on loosened, slipping from my fingers as I tumbled through the snow. Oh God! I wheezed, my lungs on fire, as I got to my feet, bolting through the wood on pure instinct. Oh God! Oh God! The tree line parted, branches catching and pulling at my jacket like claws as I broke free. Water? A familiar river sprawled through the clearing of trees. My first instinct was to dive headfirst into it, some ancestral memory attempting to tug me to safety. But it was wrong, deadly wrong. And plunged into the rushing, ice-packed waterway would spell certain death. I would jump in and instantly freeze. The air would bubble out of me and I would drown. Behind me, the pursuing wolf had slid to a stop. It glared at me, unslaked hunger burning behind its narrowed eyes. My breath hits as I step back, kicking a rock on accident. It skittered, dropping into the turning river and promptly vanishing from sight. I wanted to scream for help, for someone to save me, for anyone to help, but nobody came. The wolf bellowed at me, having enough of our game of chase. I threw my arms up, but it collided with me anyway. The force of the impact knocked the air out of me. Sharp stabbing pain radiated from my forearm as teeth punctured through my jacket and flesh alike. The river swallowed me as I fell in, gilded waters grabbing me. The chill was instant, and it took everything to keep from letting loose the desperate breath I had snatched. The water dragged me along, a stray rock grazing my shoulder as it sent me wildly spinning. My lungs burned, the only sensation besides deadening pinpricks. Through the numbness, I gave my thick tail a few flicks, propelling me across the iceless waves. I coughed, gasping for air, pulling myself across the opposite bank as freezing water dripped from me. Blood had seeped into my sleeve, staining it a disturbing shade of crimson. At least I couldn't feel the pain. Actually, I couldn't feel much of anything. The feeling in my body had gone dead, shuddering and shaking from the adrenaline rush and chill. Out of the river came the wolf as well. It was downstream, but still very much alive. It took the water from its mottled coat before spotting me. Even with our spell, it still seemed intent to kill, muzzle rippling as hackles raised. I couldn't find the energy to run, not after my ice water stunk. I threw my hands up, preparing for the worst as I curled defensively in on myself, but the pain never came. As numb as I was, the feeling of teeth sinking into flesh didn't happen. The wolf had backed off. More than that, it was retreating along the bank. Droplets of crimson had stained the snow in its wake, and from the glimpse I managed to steal, it looked like an arrow shaft was embedded in a soda. For a moment I allowed myself to hope. To Tarak, my voice came out as a gibbering rattle. Cracking my head behind, I spotted a white furred figure in the wood. A bruised foot stepped out, crunching on the ground up rock and gravel of the river's bank. The bear snorted indignantly, folding his bow behind his back. He balanced his bulk on a gnarled cane, eyes as icy as the river narrowing as they regarded me. You again. I thought I told you to be more observant. Be continued. Thank you so much for reading so far. Hearthfire is a passion project between a small group of friends, and we couldn't get anywhere without an audience. You can find more information about Hearthfire on our Twitter page. Keep an eye out for updates and changes. If you want to support the project, feel free to check out our Patreon page. Patrons get access to new builds a month ahead of time. Okay, so Tarak's father saved Chris. So, in my opinion, Chris seems to be somebody who has a habit for making bad decisions. Like going up a mountain for cell service only to get him and Tarak almost killed, or his decision just now to head on back to Tarak's lodge instead of taking what's her name again? I forgot her name but he decided not to take her offer of giving him a ride back to Tarak's lodge. He should have done that. But I don't know, he just have a habit of just doing stupid decisions. Just get himself almost killed, you know? And this wolf, there's feral wolves in this world. So, you got sapient wolves like Yuka, and then you got feral wolves, like the one that tried to maul Chris. And Tarak's father saved him. So, and his father told him that and his father told Chris that he should have been more observant, like he told him to a while back. Chris certainly doesn't. He just doesn't have he has a habit of not paying attention or just making the right decisions. Just reckless. And so, I wonder what's going to happen in the next episode. Certainly I think my guess is that Chris is going to have a role in possibly reuniting him with his son Tarak, since Chris and Quack, I think his name is, his father, they've already had a encounter before, so I guess since he's got himself a little bit familiar with his father, he could play a role in the two of them at least reconciling. Hopefully. Now I wonder what his views on same-sex relationships are. I mean, I'm going to assume that he does not like it a whole lot. Well, wait a minute. I forgot, but I remember now. I think he did suggest that he did not really approve of it earlier on. So if he finds out, well, if Chris tells him the part about him going out with Tarwack, he's probably not going to approve of that. So we're gonna have to see what happens. And and about Hallie, I remember her name now. Her name's Hallie. So about Hallie, going in there with the two of them naked. Well, Torrent anyway. Torrent being naked. The fact that she didn't seem to care at all about Torrent being naked. I think she's seen him naked before, to a point where she is used to him being naked and that she doesn't care. That's what my guess is, but I kind of find it strange that she went in his house and just talked to him as if everything was normal. Well, it wasn't normal. I mean, he was there completely naked. Anyway. And the fact that she managed to lift Chris's car, it shows us how strong Hallie is. It's really strong. Again, she's a big cat, so. And I like the building of the relationship between Chris and Tarwack and exploring each other and talking about them potentially, having intercourse. We now know that Tarwack has been having oral sex, like him. I mean, he said other people before. I guess Yuka, I believe. He must have done it to Yuka. I think Yuka did that to him also. Anyway, we'll see more of Tarwack's father next time and how Chris can try to get him back in contact with his son, Tarwack. So, thank y'all very much for watching. Goodbye.